Welcome to Spotlight. I'm Terry Harrington, and my guest today is Joe Bixler. He's no stranger to the community, but he's coming here in a kind of a new role. He's the CEO of the Thumb Food Policy Council.
Yes.
So what is the Thumb Food Policy Council?
Thanks for asking, Terry. So it's an organization that was started about 4 years ago when I still worked for Michigan State University, and after I retired, it became a private nonprofit organization. The council represents all of the 5 Thumb counties, Lapeer, St. Clair, Huron, Sanilac, and Tuscola, and its purpose is to meet communities where they're at relative to their needs and desires in respect to food. Not necessarily food insecurity, but food in general. We have focused, certainly during the pandemic, on food insecurity needs for obvious reasons, but our scope and our intent is much broader than that.
So explain a little bit, so who's the clientele you serve and how
communities,
does this work?
Yeah, communities in the Thumb. So, every community has needs and desires relative to food. We also know that there's a lot of food that's produced in the Thumb, particularly in the upper part of the Thumb. Most of that food doesn't stay in Michigan. In fact, a lot of it doesn't stay in the United States.
Really?
It's more of a commodity production area. However, there are a lot of smaller to medium-sized farms that produce, on a regular basis and take their products to market through farmers markets or farm markets or direct sales. So we work with those folks as well. So we were interested early on in looking at where food is grown, how it's used, and where it goes relative to all of those communities. So we're obviously on the producer side if you look at the Thumb in a large kind of way. But some of that food stays here, and some food is shipped in. So aside from the research piece of that, when I was working for MSU, we also knew that there were folks out there working daily on trying to solve their own food needs in local communities across the Thumb through the lack of grocery stores, food pantries, all that kind of stuff. So we kind of looked at all of that and determined what our goals were going to be for a period of years. And what we arrived at is that we needed to support local communities from their point of view in terms of what their needs were. And so that's what we do.
So is this kind of unique to the Thumb region, or is it kind of modeled elsewhere around the state too?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So there are any number of, I think there are close to 43 food policy councils across the state now.
Wow. Okay.
And we're one of the few that covers more than one county. In fact, we're the only council that covers 5. And that was the research and demonstration side of the project early on. And now that we're a private nonprofit, we obviously decided that it was in fact a good thing to do. And the Policy Council now represents all of those counties from our goal point of view.
Great. Well, we need to take a quick break. We're going to come back and we'll learn more about how this Food Council helps us in our community when we talk with Joe.
Great.
So don't go away.
Let North Star Bank, one of the most responsive, relationship-based banks in our community, partner with you to meet your financial needs. We have locations all across Michigan, so stop in and visit us today. North Star Bank, guiding the way. Member FDIC.
Welcome back to Spotlight. We're talking to Joe Bixler. He's the head of the local Thumb Food. Help me out again. The Thumb Food Policy Council. There, that's a mouthful, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is.
So how is this program funded?
So I want to answer that question by telling you about a grant that we received from the Michigan Department of Education. Our partners asked us to be the fiduciary and the grant writer for a grant that literally purchases food from local sources, farmers, and farms, and delivers to folks as opposed to folks coming to food. So one of our goals that we established in 2020 was identifying ways to bring people to food and food to people. The focus of our grant is to provide fresh produce to 2 distinct vulnerable populations, one being senior citizens and the others being kids. So we're on opposite ends of the spectrum. And so literally our grant that is being funded by the U.S. Department of Agriculture through MDE and subcontracted with us and 7 other agencies across the state are providing what we refer to as last mile distribution of food purchased locally to both seniors and kids, and we're doing it with a number of partners. I can give a couple of examples of that. So in the upper part of the thumb, there's a small organization who's not a nonprofit yet, who started a program called Blessing Boxes, and they put food on public transportation buses.
Wow, okay.
Non-perishable. We're going to put perishable on in the near future. This is going to start in early 2023. Here in St. Clair County, and in other counties, we're also working with the Council on Aging. Council on Aging delivers food weekly to their population, their clientele, with Meals on Wheels, and now they're also going to take a small bag of produce that seniors can handle on a weekly basis, and they'll receive those small bags as well. So we're taking advantage of existing connections that agencies and organizations have to bring food to both the senior population with kids.
Kind of seems like it's kind of like some strange bedfellows with the Department of Education involved with here.
Well,
So what is their take?
yeah, so the Department of Education, I don't think really wanted to do programming. They're more on the administrative side and probably on the research and evaluation side. And they were looking for partners who are out there doing the footwork. And so literally our grant was written in the same fashion. Our council is not interested in programming. Our council is interested in working with partners who are doing the programming, the folks, the soldiers that are in the trenches. And so we recognized that some of our partners were already doing some of this work and decided to write them into the grant, our grant, if you will, to deliver last mile to both seniors and kids.
So, and unfortunately, throughout the state of Michigan, and especially here in the Thumb area, there's really a need for this in there.
Yeah, a lot of people don't believe that there's hunger in rural communities because they think that the food's all grown there.
Sure.
Not true. In fact, if you think about it, in rural communities, there's fewer opportunities for transportation, and the distance between getting from where someone lives and where the food is, whether that's a grocery store or a pantry, is quite a distance. So there are different issues for folks who are hungry, and particularly kids and seniors. That's why we are working with them and trying to bridge that gap between distance, travel, transportation, and delivering last mile to them. So we're interested in taking food to people, not people coming to food. That's the demonstration of this project.
Great. And I know we need to wrap up the program. How can someone get in touch with you or learn more about?
So yeah, I'm gonna. So we have a Facebook page, Thumb Food Policy Council. They can always look us up there, or they can always contact me directly through my email address, which is jbixler4227@gmail.com.
There you go. Very good. Well, Joe, this is really interesting. I wish you all the best on this, especially as we head into 2023.
I'm looking forward to talking to you again.
Thank you, Joe, and we want to thank you for joining us on this edition of Spotlight.